Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 571, Sunday Trustee Training, Day as a Trustee. And definitely wanted to do this episode. We've had a bunch of trustees come into the trustee training program this year. We have quite a few families that have multi generations, so they may have Gen 1, Gen 2 in the room, and then we've engaged with families already this year that are three generations sit in a room. So it's always great to see that. And so one of the main questions that we get asked in trustee training all the time is what is a day look like for you, Trust Christian in the Vault? What does trustee training look like for you? But what does the day as a trustee look like? And so we're definitely thankful for everybody tuning in live, listening to replay. Definitely hit the like, hit the subscribe button if this is your new episode or first episode. If you're a returning listener, please hit the like. We definitely want to increase boosting the channel up in the algorithm on the channel. So feel free to hit the like button. Definitely appreciate that. And so this episode in particular is about a day as a trustee, something that we get asked often. One of the things is trustees come to us for a structure and organization inside of their family estate, formalizing the family estate, and just putting things in place. So when we talk about a day as a trustee, the first thing is just starting out with the schedule. Do you even have a schedule planned out? Do you have it written down on paper? We'll give you an example of what one of our families looks like going on a private family retreat. It's going to look like a traditional trustee meeting. It's just more informal, whereas formal meetings may have uh, more formal business clothes. Informal meetings may actually have less formal clothes, more unbuttoned collars, shirts. A little bit more relaxed than the pant wear, things of that nature. Even the shoes. The setting can be still more formal, or it can be very informal. When we talk about our family retreats, we're talking about them being outside. We're talking about them being, whether they're in nature, at a beach, at a resort, could be at a mission, various different places. So, once again, we're starting off just with the schedule for the day. The schedule, it should be written out. Especially when you're talking about having a retreat for the family. Could be, 2, 3, could be more than that. Could be, 5, 10, 20, 30 people that should have a schedule for that day of activities, a moment of meeting. What's the expectation for that meeting? Communication can be done through emails. Communication can be done through text messages. Phone calls are not always the most useful way, just because messages get lost. So even when you look at family retreats, when you look at the day of a trustee in these meetings, you may see that there is notifications that are going to go out, communications that are going to go out in advance. So as you can see, there may be some formal communication about the fact that there is a meeting at this point in the day. And in turn, this is what we're going to talk about. You may even have a formal secretary for the actual entity. Some of the families that we engage with is traditionally, or it could be just one coming to the training. So in turn, they're going to be the secretary. If you're doing most of the paperwork, you're going to be the secretary. Can you have someone do that? Yes. So for this is to do high level training with trustees that are listening, that are in the program, or previous in the program, families. So we'll get a single mom that'll come through trustee training, and she may have a child or two. They may be of age, they may be in their 20s. So in turn, having the children be the not maybe not a formal trustee, but more of a secretary. Them taking notes, them sitting in the meeting. Those things are important. Um, so they don't have to be the formal trustee. They may send out the agenda in advance for the overall family, but they still may not be the formal trustee. They may be someone that is the secretary. So in turn, the entity or the family estate may have a what is that? May have her secretary that sends out this correspondence in advance. So before you have that meeting for that day for the members or trustees that are supposed to be there. So we'll always appreciate everybody tuning in live, listening to replay. We got New Jersey tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate New Jersey for tuning in live, listening to replay. Thank you, Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. Um, Feel free to type into the chat where you're listening live or listening to replay from. This is Sunday Trustee Training Day as a trustee. So once again, even as a trustee, you get up, you may have various different activities that you do, but people already have a bunch of things going on before they get into training and even during the training. So they may or may not have a formal schedule, but when we talk about trusteeship, there may be a formal schedule that trustees are going to adhere to. Some people say, well, how do I set up my board meetings? How are my meetings supposed to be set up? How are the meetings supposed to be set up? When you look at the meetings traditionally, there's this old classic book that you can. There's actually a few recommendations that we have. One of them is Tough Minded Management. That is a book that is going to allow someone to have uh, focus on managing style, how to manage tough minded management. Pretty old book. Recommendation for one of the mentors, not a recommendation, more of a requirement. So we have it in the library, and we've read as well. Outside of that, it's an old book called Robert's Rules. Robert Loberts Rules. This is a really old book. It's just one of those things that it's very formal, very structured. You're going to see that in old school corporate America. You may see some old school corporate Americans still operating from Robert's Rule, and Robert's Rules is a old time classic book, so it's something that still operates in the public today. It doesn't matter if you're an old timer or if you're relatively young. It's just one of those books that provides value for oh man, we need a template for how to conduct a meeting, how to conduct a board meeting. This Robert's Rules, if you all are trustees, if you're entrepreneurs, if you call yourselves operators, um, for sure the book is for people to have a staff that they're going to have meetings for at the same time. It is something that it's a great conductor template to put in place. So even for trustees that don't have a lot of positions that they have to work with people in a formal setting, quote unquote, or at meetings themselves, because there may be just a few trustees in themselves, then in turn, Robert's Rule is still helpful. It's not the end of the world, but it's helpful. So that's how we would encourage you all to look at that. But Robert's Rules will be a great, book to grab for formalizing your board meetings or trustee meetings, because it's just an old book. So once again, we walk into the day with having some level of structure. First of all, the meetings have a structure. People say, "Oh, when I walk into the meeting, what we do?" Well, even one of those things, if we walk into the meeting and say, "Let's first address what is the agenda for today? What were we supposed to be coming into this and have already done? What are we covering? And then on the back of that, what did we resolve by the end of the meeting moving forward?" And then everyone signs and dates. So the meetings aren't long. They may be transcribed. We definitely recommend utilizing some technology nowadays to record the meetings, to record that specific, meeting that you have, just so it can be transcribed. It may miss things if uh, you may be in a meeting and someone's not taking the most copious notes. In turn, utilizing those tools will help. So, recording the meeting, but once again, having a specific agenda. Once again, Robert's Rules will help out with that, with helping you stick to a script and things of that nature. So, the day in the life of a trustee looks like someone very much so thinking impersonally, thinking unbiasedly, not thinking about themselves, focused on moving forward with a servant mentality. Uh, they're thinking about protecting assets. They're thinking about risk. They're thinking about when we talk about risk, we talk about downside. They're thinking about a growing assets, for sure, for the benefit of the beneficiaries. And so it's definitely a mindset of outside of self and focused on uh, the parties that are most important, the purpose that they even have a position. Who were they standing in for that position? So day in the life of the trustee, they may be in contact with various people in turn. for the estate. It may be lawyers, trustees all the time. Let's just start here. Trustees ask all the time, oh man, trust Christian vote. Should I get a lawyer? How do I get a lawyer? Who should I contact? I thought lawyers don't understand this. So we get trustees that come to us think that lawyers and accountants are stupid. They're not, first of all. We never said on the podcast that lawyers and accountants are stupid. They're not stupid. They're very smart at what they do. The only thing is there's a difference between public and private. Most of them have had a public education, and most of them operate in the public. When we say most, it's most. It's not all, but it's most of them. So even if they're in the public, that doesn't mean that they don't have the education. It just means that they're practicing public trust administration. They're practicing public business administration. That's what they're practicing. They may not outright tell you that they're practicing privately in the public. That's fair. So we just want to add value to the trustees and say, okay, trustees ask all the time, oh man, when do I need a lawyer? How do I need a lawyer? Why do I need a lawyer? Well, I got to get a lawyer and I'm not even in a bad position. It's like, well, that's fine. So, we talk to lawyers on a daily. When you talk about the day and as a trustee, you're actually building relationships with lawyers all the time. But just remember, all lawyers aren't created equal. If you don't have to deal with personal injury stuff, why would you be talking to them about certain things? That's not their specialty, that's not their expertise, that's not their practice, as they call it. So when we're talking about who should trustees be in contact with on a daily basis, we're talking about them being in contact with business litigation lawyers, estate attorneys. These are contract lawyers. These are people that they're in contact with to make sure that they have people in place in case of litigation for trusteeship, in case they need someone for formal document drafting and things of that nature. Once again, this is the trustee understanding that it is a team mindset, not a me mindset. Of course, it's easy to have the me mindset, but the trustee mindset of the we mentality or the serving mentality, that's something that someone has to have in order to be effective. So when we talk about being effective, it comes from having other people that you're building a team around. You have the team around you. You're focused on building once again a stable of lawyers that are in various different skill sets, the best at what they do. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out to them, ladies and gentlemen. It's definitely important to Google who has one of the better firms in your area. Traditionally, will not be an individual, be a firm, ladies and gentlemen. And so when we deal with these firms, not all firms are created equal, like not all lawyers are created equal. So it's the same exact thing. Even when we talk about accounting, ladies and gentlemen, all accountants aren't created equal. So when we talk about the accountants, we're talking about people. Some people say, "Oh man, they're not versed on the 1041." Well, that would be one of the first questions you would ask them is, are they versed in 1041 or are they versed in trust and what type of entities and various different questions like that. So once again, trustee today, as a trustee, you may be interviewing lawyers and accountants all the time. As you come in contact with them, you're just going to go into your questions because you want to know how can they help protect the family estate. Once again, you're traditionally not going to look for just the individual lawyer or accountant. You may actually look for a firm. People think that sometimes they have to turn over the reins of the entity over to the lawyers and accountants, and they don't. You can actually manage it and actually have the trust consult with these lawyers, these accountants. They can work for hire these people, to do various different things. Especially a lot of trustees are dealing with real estate, and so in turn, are the lawyers doing business with the trustee, or are the lawyers doing business with the trust? So in turn, just making sure that you are in the right mindset, correct thought process, the correct decision making thought process is definitely important. So we're there with that. Um, you definitely are interviewing these people all throughout, that every day, every single day when you come in contact with a lawyer or accountant. You may not, in the beginning, you may reach out to a few just to feel comfortable. At the same time, you're still going to, always continuously, look for these individuals. You know, that's just the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. You're always going to have to look for people in these various different fields. And when you talk about firms, some people say, "Oh man, I got to pay for the services right away." First of all, you don't pay for something that you're not doing. It's just to go in, have a conversation, and you're actually interviewing the lawyer accountant to see if this is something that they're passionate about, is seeing if it's something that they enjoy doing, and seeing their expertise and seeing how great they are, what's their success ratio, what's their failure, what have failures been, things of that nature. Are they looking to grow with the family in the capacity of what you guys are doing? Your family's probably not going to go through probate if you're in trusteeship. So by that being the case, there's a different conversation with the lawyer than saying, hey, you're going to help me protect my family if I have a will. Like, there's a different conversation that's going to be had. How do they feel about consulting? What's their consulting fee versus their retainer fee? These are the things that you can simply ask that put you on that path of getting things done. And so, once again, a day of a trustee, you may David trustees definitely getting some work and things done. One of the biggest things that trustees are, for the ones that have jobs, they have a problem, and it is what it is. They have to focus on building a business, quote unquote, the family estate. If they don't have any formal training in how to build a business, if they don't have an interest in building a business, if they don't know what they want to do in business, they're going to run into challenges. They're going to run into this problem that we're talking about. Whereas the entrepreneurs, they already have an asset, or the successful operators already have an asset to place inside a trusteeship. So they have more focus on actually doing what's necessary as far as the day-to-day operations of making sure that assets are transferred properly, and then on the back end of that, the day-to-day operations of knowing that you actually have to grow the estate. Your job is to grow the estate. It's not just to sit on assets. When people say it takes money to make money, it does. It costs money to hold money. It costs money to make money. You think about it. They have overdraft fees at the account, the bank. They have fees at the bank traditionally if you use the money or don't use the money. They still have fees. Once again, they have fees whether you use the money or don't use the money. So why would it be any different in trusteeship? Trusteeship is equivalent to a bank. It's private family banking involved. Private family banking doesn't just mean that you're saving money. It actually means that the money's growing. So trustees want to definitely, a day of the trustee may be focused on asset generation thought process and activities and actions. It may be asset accumulation thought process, for sure. Those are things that are going to be done on a daily basis. Daily basis. Just to hop into another thought process that the trustee has, the trustee may do a reading. Trustees, traditionally, first generation trustees are going to have to do the most research. Ladies and gentlemen, we sat in a room with people that recently that individually have a net worth of over $30 million, and they're still educating themselves on trusteeship. It doesn't mean they let someone else have their money. It doesn't mean they outsource the money. It just means that they still are involving themselves in the wealth preservation process. Yes, they have accumulated wealth, 20, 30, or million plus. At the same time, they're still educating themselves on keeping the money, not just growing the money, but keeping the money. So once again, the mindset of a trustee, there is going to be some time, possibly, whether it's throughout the course of a week, the course of a month, or even on a daily basis, the day where people say, oh, well, what's the most edifying and one of the most valuable things that I could do is as far as education for trusteeship. And one of them, ladies and gentlemen, is reading the case law. Specifically, when we talk to trustees that are in the private sector, or everybody talk about common law and things of that nature, if it's based off precedent, then it would be previous cases. Are you reading the federal cases though, or are you reading the state cases? That's a big deal. And not only when you read a federal case, are you able to take that federal case and try to find the cases on the state level and actually find out how that would work in a state level aspect. Very important. Not only that, when you get those cases or get your hands on a case, that's why it's so important to know lawyers, because they can get their hands on the case and pass it along to you. That's how they build that relationship with the family, is by providing information and education, not just trying to charge them for paperwork and things of that nature. So once again, when we talk about the education, you're talking about communicating with these lawyers, communicating with these accountants. Once again, with the trust case, excuse not trust, but just with the cases in general, for the various different things that you're going through or various different interests that you have, you're going to make it a point to you're going to make it a point to talk to them and discuss with them cases. Now, once again, if that's not their area of expertise, definitely going to be challenging to have a conversation with them because that's not their area of expertise. But if it is someone that they're familiar, you can ask questions, you can grow and develop your knowledge base, they can grow and develop their knowledge base. You can throw and have peer and thought leadership on that. And so, once again, even in a day of a life of a trustee, day as a trustee, you definitely may possibly have conversations with lawyers about things that you're learning. Once again, various different cases. Of course, there's various different online platforms that you all can research. This is one of them where we even talk about, when you hear about various different celebrities' estates and you hear certain celebrities' estates not in the proper position, those are great learning lessons for you to see what type of structure they were using, to see how they actually either managed it or mismanaged the actual estate before their passing. Knowing that these people were financially well off for a long time, supposedly well off financially for a long time, and just didn't do proper planning or didn't have enough planning in place. So, just being able to Google stories, various different celebrities, seeing how their estate is not being put together properly, and then looking at success stories, uh, people that have various success in making sure that their estate is passed along property. One of the people that we like to share is even Steve Jobs passed along his estate to his wife properly in various different entities. His children got the estate in various different entities. No one was left in just one entity. Not everything was just placed in one entity, and things of that nature. So definitely wanted to share that you do learn, you do study, and you see from other people's successes and other people's failures. And that's why we focus on trustee training at the vault, is because it's so important to have a mentor. The day in the life as a trustee or the day as a trustee, you may have a mentor that you check in with, and that's what the vault provides. And we also provide those resources to trustees. But just know 100% in trusteeship, there's definitely mentorship, 100%. It has to be, because it's a passing down of generational wealth. When you pass down generational items and things of that nature, you pass down a structure, you pass down a process, a procedure, you pass down a system of doing something in a multiple generational way, or something that's going to go on in perpetuity. So in turn, there has to be some level of process or order to the actual passing along of the wealth. So there is a mentality, there is a thought process, and that comes from actually having a mentor. So definitely want trustees to think about that, or people looking to protect their assets, looking to find mentors as well in trusteeship, as opposed to just saying, I mean, people reach out to the vault and say, oh, I got a trust, or oh, I'm in trusteeship, but they don't have a mentor, and they need mentors, and that's why they're reaching out. So we're thankful that we can provide that at the vault. Trusteeship, definitely thankful that we can do that. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Feel free to look down in the description of the actual podcast, and you can actually see how to reach out as well. But once again, today as a trustee, it's a really all over the place type thing. A lot of trustees will say, "Oh, I didn't. I wanted to get a lot done this week and I didn't." And a lot of it comes from either proper prior planning prevents poor performance, or just lack of planning in general. And the thing about it is some trustees will say, I don't know how to create the structure. I don't know how to create the plan. So at the vault, we break down the formal year of trusteeship, when disbursements or distributions are best to be made, how often you should have disbursements, how often you should have these meetings for the disbursements and those things throughout the year. Those are things that you want to formalize, and something that we work with the trustees to actually formalize if you're just starting out first gen with the family estate. This is something that a lot of families have challenges with, how often they should have the meetings, what should they talk about in the meetings, how do we start out with our first few meetings, and that's something that we help and work with our trustees to do. So feel free to reach out. Once again, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Feel free to reach out. We'll actually help make sure that the family estate is actually starting out formally, and then in turn just going over how to make sure that there's certain elements that are formalized in it, and in turn moving along on your way. So we definitely are focused on empowerment, and thank everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. And we actually have our next workshop coming up and planned out, and so we're just going to be sharing those details here, but just be looking out for that. We actually have one more hardcore formal webinar, and then we're going to do a few in-person workshops just because we have so many people this year that are with the vault and families in the foundation, that we actually need to move into a higher level of training with the families that are in the foundation. So definitely looking forward to working with the families in the foundation. Even families that are in the foundation, they're reaching out to charities on a daily basis at times. We have families right now that are like, well, how do we reach out to them? So we work with them, making sure that they have a script, making sure that they have their mission for the actual foundation in place. Same thing for trusteeship, ladies and gentlemen, is having your mission in place, having the mission of the estate in place, making sure that that mission is the driving motivation factor for things getting done. And so we look forward to working with the families and continuously working with you all. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, it's Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace and joy.